Your narrator wonders if we can be of service here, or if I could separate out, what happened, the personal from the, being of service. The problem is, what the best way to be of service, at such a time, when this is all happening in our government and everything, and especially without, you remember, people who are don't understand the mind, see, this is why unfortunately, I'd say, can I separate the personal experience of your narrator from this? Is what the problem is. I don't feel like saying anything, but you see, the reason people like me like that guy Carl Hess, okay, right? I mean, he'd been a speechwriter for all the major Republicans, and I'm getting to something about what's going on. When he was one of these speechwriters, Republican speechwriters, there really are a lot of bright minds behind who write those speeches, and he had written speeches for many of the Republican presidents of the previous era, and he was an interesting person, but the point is this, when he sort of went into, he left the Republican Party, he went and he lived, he did the kind of, thing we talk about. It's this sort of strain, it's a strain of a uniquely American, strain of it's one type of, it's, call what you want, but you move out to the woods by a lake and work by yourself and sit by a lake. I mean, it's kind of he read a lot of American anarchist thought and stuff, and he what he said in that video that there's a lot of people watching now. I think he said that he said, geez, I see everything I thought I think everything the Republican Party was supposed to stand for. I sort of. A lot of it is what he said. I'm not saying this, but he said these are he's good. These are good sentiments, anti-state, those kind of things that he said. But it is what the Republican Party that he had been a part of stood for, was what Emma Goldman said, that all of history is the individuals against the institutions, and that and when I took, oh, by the way, the I don't know how it plays in our thing, because there was a picture of the woman from the Tea Party. See, there's someone ran a picture of the woman who from the Tea Party Patriots, and it was weird how it's just one of our synchronicities. There's the woman who was at who taught a class called Readings on the Right, who was a history professor, was in a different department, not in this social science or whatever other thing that I got involved with. She was teaching a history class and did the history of the Republican Party and everything. And there was also recently a picture of her somewhere but it was weird. It was a synchronistic thing. She was sort of looked, they were almost standing the same way in a photograph. But what I'm getting at is this, that what I found out in that class, right, I mean, that all through no matter what else has been going on, the early parts, some of the Republican Party have been part of the, well, first of all, that they were the original, the abolitionists, but also that that they had and also for monetary sovereignty, the Greenback movement, but then also I'm getting to something about what's going on now. But also they were part of the anti-vaccination movement, during Woodrow Wilson, first time we had a political science professor, liberal intellectual, scientist guy, as the president took us to war, took my grandfather for World War I for we're not really, he didn't know the reason. But they were part of the anti-vaccination movement, during that time. I mean, the issue's always been the individuals against the institutions for such people. And the thing is, what happened, to your narrator, what's happened when that thing with using the IRS to target all those groups because they have the word patriot in their title. You see, what happened to me? Okay, let me put it this way. And as far as people being afraid, when Obama, when the public option was first announced and Obama was making speeches, that guy who showed up, I mean, that he's actually someone who knows the friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing, who showed up with that sign that said it's time to water the tree of liberty, and had a pistol holstered or something, or something like that. I mean, there's all kinds of sentiment that are concerned about the power of this, these institutions, the political science, people we always talk about, this social science. We did a study, crowd. And the thing is, when Obama was elected, I didn't know that it was going to be this. We're going through this different period where we there's all kinds of things going on. We're using these cameras. Like, no, I mean, a lot of people who grew up in the '90s thought this was going to be like a replay of Clinton, or like, like or because of with the war going on, that it was going to be like Woodrow Wilson times, and like that's a time when like people who are like into into the nation, into like things of that nature that are like sort of nationalists or whatever, are in a lot of trouble. When like you get now sending the IRS after people isn't like sending the internal security forces after people, but none of this is the same as targeting someone at a graduate school by like see, because like psychoanalysis figures in like a lot of the stuff the head of the department did to me, like they do all the time, like this type of person, like we didn't know if it was meant to put a scare in me, or if it was real, or like if he was trying to like spook the person with this thing that like the FBI called my family. I mean, we don't know, but I'm saying like did we, after what happened with Clinton, like yeah, there's an incredible like fear of like what this like crowd is that might be in power at any given time when there's a liberal president. And the thing is, like, no, like I do not think any of this is necessary. I think what Obama said is true. This is all avoidable, whatever's happening. But to the extent that there's like a sort of like something going on in our Congress that's like a standoff kind of thing, like see who blinks first. I mean, it's or people who perceive like the healthcare thing is like come and take over your lives. I still want to know like what. Pretty cute to put that kind of language in the beginning. It's early in the bill to a thinking person who like understands what James Madison said about protecting inherited wealth from the state. I mean, what's that language doing in there? That's not. But I mean, like a lot of people are frightened about that type of thing. Now we should move to a national healthcare system. We should. But I mean, all the stuff going on in just the political sector. Like, I'm not a politician. I'm a member of a political group. But I mean, the fear of a lot of things is very real, and the hostility towards the other political party is very real. I don't think any of this is like necessary or working too well, and people like me don't really talk about this kind of thing. But I mean, after like my own personal experience with this sort of crowd that like is, like I said, a lot of it's just they're I don't know what they're into, but I mean, like there's a lot of fear of like what's coming a lot of the time. But I don't think any of this is necessary. But I don't know how much animosity there is between these two political parties, because their constituents and people who like are in, let's say, like a Tea Party movement certainly know the history of this. And certainly people lived in the '90s of like them targeting people or because of the name of their group, or they're in a rural community, or they did a study on them. And like there's a lot of what happened to me is like they really knew how to sort of spotted me right away because of the kind of questions I asked. Well, I was the only one there who could I don't know what to say, but I mean, it's hard to separate out what's personal to your narrator about what's going on and make a comment that would be of service to like getting us to national health care, because there should be health care for people who aren't rich. But I mean, all the stuff going on, I mean, I know what it comes out of. But I like, I'm trying to be an observer and be of service, is what I'm saying.